Hello and welcome back to Jenna Gets Creative. Today is the third Friday of the month, and that means it's an Art Addicts Alliance day. I will talk a little bit about what the Art Addicts Alliance is and who are members, all that kind of stuff in just a sec. But first, I want to explain why you're looking at this photo book up in the top corner of the screen. I'm doing the audio a little bit differently this time. I'm recording it live. I'm going to flip through this and tell you some stories, and it will also explain the piece I've chosen to do today. The topics, the themes that were picked for February for the Art Addicts Alliance, we could either do something to do with a historical period, we could do a $10 supply challenge, or we could combine those two and do a historical period piece with a $10 supply challenge. Unfortunately, we are in complete lockdown in my area right now. We've had a bit of an outbreak in the high school population, and they're trying to control it. So they've shut us all down, hoping that will stop the spread. So yeah, I can't get out to the dollar store and pick up $10 worth of supplies, and I have no idea which of my supplies would add up to 10. So I have no choice. I am doing historical period. If you don't know, if you haven't scoured everything I've ever put out, I did a whole lot of volunteering for museums when I was a teenager. I grew up in Langley, British Columbia, and this photo book, this is something I bought when I was leaving the province back in 2012. Just so happens that this is John Gordon is the photographer. Just so happens that this is an autographed copy. I didn't get it from him. I happened across it in the bookstore in my local mall in Langley. This is called the Langleys because the jurisdiction of Langley is split up into many different parts because many different smaller towns were combined into Langley. These days you've got Langley Township, Langley City, and Fort Langley. All of the museums basically are in Fort Langley. I grew up volunteering in the Langley Centennial Museum, which is the basic go walk through it general history of the area museum. Right next door was the Farming Museum. Down a couple streets, you get to the Fort Langley National Historic Site, which is a preserved fur trading fort. They do really cool things there almost all year round. Let's start looking through this book. All copyright for these images obviously are John Gordon. This book was printed in 2008. I graduated in 2006, which means the May Day parade photos you're going to see in here are quite possibly from a couple years before it was printed, quite possibly from years that I would have been in it. Hint, I will talk more about that. This is actually Mount Baker in Washington State. You can see it from Langley. This is the Milner Church. They had to move it. It was built in 86, and in 2006 they moved it because they were doing construction on the streets. That was the year I graduated, 2006. I remember this. That was really cool. I'm not going to talk about every page. Random escapee peacock. There were people who had pet peacocks. You would see this around. Now this building, this is the inspiration for today's piece. It's actually right down the street from where my grandmother currently lives. I picked this because I'm not sure if it was this exact BC Tel building or what, but when my grandmother first came to BC, she was raised in Saskatchewan, she worked as a switchboard operator in a BC Tel building just like this, if not this exact one. I gotta ask her if it was this exact one. I will pop up an actual photo of my grandmother working the BC Tel switchboard. Her claim to fame was always that dear old Jimmy Pattison, was on her switchboard. She directed a lot of his calls. If you are familiar with BC at all, or even outside of that, Western Canada, Jim Pattison obviously is a very big name. He owns a lot of corporations, most notably the Overweighty Food Group. So that's the Save On Foods, PriceSmart Foods, Cooper's Foods, all of those. These statues are hanging out by the library in Langley City. This is Chief Waddlecunham of the Kwantlen Nation, because most of Langley was built on Kwantlen Nation land, and it was the Kwantlen Nation that a lot of the fur trading was happening with. And Langley has, for quite a long time now, openly, freely acknowledged how much we owe to the Kwantlen Nation. If you go to basically any gathering in Langley, you're going to hear everybody start out with acknowledging and thanking the Kwantlen Nation for the use of their land, all of that kind of stuff. It's honestly, it brings tears to my eyes every time, just how far we've come that we're finally acknowledging these people who were here first. There's that church that was moved. This is its current location. I know exactly where this barn is. I used to look for this horse every time we drove by. Alright, so this is photos from some of the different parades that happen in Langley. This one's in Langley City. These are both in Langley City. These ones over here are the May Day parade that goes through Fort Langley. This is the photo. If this photo is old enough, if this photo was taken like 2002 to 2006 range, it's quite possible that if this photo was a little more over here, you would see my high school best friend and I holding the banner that says Langley Centennial Museum. These two girls were definitely volunteering at the same time as us. I'm not sure about her, which makes me wonder if maybe it was a year after I graduated. This is average, authentic 1920s people living in Langley clothing. When we do these parade walks with the museum, they actually take out all the authentic clothes out of the closets and put them on us. I have horror stories about being fit into shoes that were way too small, and then doing this parade for an hour in shoes that were way too small. It's a good thing they were red shoes, let's just say that. Old World War II planes doing a show at the Langley Airport. This is a photo inside the Fort Langley National Historic Site. These buildings have all been rebuilt, but they've been rebuilt based on photos and plans of what the fort was. The outer wall is the original wall reinforced. This is the governor's hall, the governor's building. You can actually rent that hall. You can rent the upstairs for events after park hours, after regular guests coming through can't come through anymore. And when my mom got married in 2017, they decided to have a period wedding here in the governor's hall. And it was hilarious because they asked us all to come in 1820s gear, not 1920s, 1820s outfits. They organized with a costume place to have people fitted with costumes, and they could go rent from that place. Most of us showed up in fur traders in their Sunday best, and then some of my stepfather's coworkers misinterpreted and came in 1920s. So there was a hall of about, 150 or so people dressed like 1820s fur traders in their Sunday best, and then there's one table of flapper girls and their dates. It was hilarious. One of the houses we lived in, it was a fairly newly built house, and down the street from that house there was this area that was all swampy marsh. It hadn't been filled in and developed yet, so for the first year we were there, these guys, the red-winged blackbirds, they were living in the cattails and the bulrushes that whole season, and then the next spring they filled it in and put a parking lot and a little strip mall in there, and wondered why they had flooding that fall. I also considered doing this one just because it's so cool. Maybe someday I will. Of course though, I don't have this photographer's permission. I'm comfortable doing this one because I could easily be referencing my own photo of this one, but I don't know where that car is parked. I've never gone and taken that photo. This is out on the Fraser River. These are the Golden Ears Mountains. Oh, the caption here says that this was taken at Alder Acres Pond. Alder Acres is a huge farm in Fort Langley, and it's owned by a veterinarian, and then the generations below him, his family. They raise livestock for the fairs, for the shows. They have gigantic bulls, but they have a big pumpkin patch. They have kids come in for field trips. They do the whole pumpkin season in October. And when I was a teenager, we had a pair of border collie siblings that they were untrainable as a pair. It became very clear that we couldn't keep both of them. We gave one of them to these guys, to the guys who owned this place. And every October when we went there to get our pumpkins, this dog found us, recognized us and followed us the entire time we were there, and then he happily went back to his life for the rest of the year. But there was one year somebody left a gate open, he got loose, he was found wandering around somewhere, somebody picked him up, brought him to a vet. The vet office looked up his ear tattoo. Remember, this was early 2000s, they didn't have microchipping yet. And even though this place is owned by a veterinarian, he never had the ear tattoo re-registered, so the dog came back to us. And as soon as the dog saw his sister in our yard, they were inseparable again, and when these guys came back to get their dog, they got 2 dogs. These are members of the First Nations who are playing the part of traders coming in to trade with the fur traders. They do this every year they call it Brigade Days. That's over the August long weekend in BC. Every year they have the representatives for the First Nations come canoeing down the river up to the historic site, and then they come in and they've got people playing the governor and all those people, and they meet and they do their big trade of furs. It's really cool. Derby Reach Park, we used to love taking the dogs there. Cranberry fields. This is how you harvest cranberries. You let the field flood, and then you just pick the berries floating off the surface. There's the Golden Ears Mountains with snow. And this is another one of those pictures. If it were just a little further extended, you would see the farm where we used to board our horse. This beach is accessible from the dog park at Derby Reach Park. One of the vineyards in Fort Langley. There's the big house, the governor's house at the historic site. This is the backside view of it. And this is James Douglas, the first governor of British Columbia, so it's his house. Again, you can see Mount Baker in Washington State, and another view of the Golden Ears Mountains. The caption talks about salmon in the Fraser River. This little patch of forest, this is really close to the house we lived in when I was in like grade 1 to grade 3, grade 4 area, when we actually had the horse on our own property. And it's an interesting little forest, I guess you would call it. These have all been replanted, and they were so intentionally planted in these rows. When you're driving past, it gets to a point where they all lined up and it looks like just one row of trees. Barnell. I used to love going past this farm all the time too, looking at the little horses. These guys are thoroughbreds, I believe. I looked it up at some time. They are officially bred thoroughbred racehorses. There is thoroughbred racing in BC, in Vancouver at the Hastings track. But mostly in BC, if you're seeing horse racing, you're going to see the standard breds doing harness racing. Beaver in the river, snowy owl. Well, there's that book completely looked through. I hope you enjoyed that. So let me tell you a little bit more about the Art Addicts Alliance. We are a group of artists here on YouTube. We get together on the 3rd Friday of every month to put out art on the same day, as you might expect, and we're doing it based on 1 or 2 themes that were voted on in a poll, so that we're all doing the same kind of thing, and we just give each other some shoutouts. We are always looking for guests to feature with us during the month, just a one-time feature. We're also always looking for new members. We try to cap the group at 15 members, but it's been a very long time since we've had 15, so we do have spaces open. The current members, besides myself, are Jazz Capri, Weblight Dreams, Pan-Dimensional Space Zombie, All Funnies and Games, Aurora's Art World, Blue Flynn, The Artsy Pineapple, Justin Dwyer Artistry, Enjoy Drawing with Mary, and Dark Star Creations. Dark Star Creations is our newest member. Welcome. And Enjoy Drawing with Mary was also very new with us, so if you didn't see her channel last month, welcome to her as well. We do have a Discord server. The link to that is down below, and that's how you can get more information on us, get in contact with us, hang out if you just want to hang out, or apply to be a guest or a permanent member. If you would like to be a one-time monthly guest, all we ask is that you are an active YouTuber and that you do art at least sometimes on your channel. We will let you know ahead of time what the theme is for the month. You'll upload on the same Friday along with us, give us shoutouts, we'll give you shoutouts, and then you can either come back later and apply to join us or just go on your way. Either is fine. If you would like to be a full-time permanent member of the Art Addicts Alliance, that doesn't require that you post every single month. We understand life gets in the way sometimes, and sometimes the themes just won't speak to you. Permanent member means you're going to post with us most of the time. What we're going to ask if you want to be a permanent member is that you audition. If you have at least 100 subscribers and you do art content on a regular basis, doesn't have to be exclusively what you do on your channel, but it has to be a regular thing on your channel, then we're going to have you send in an audition video, which is just you doing an Art Addicts Alliance video unofficially, or use your official guest video if you did one with us. Your audition video can be any theme we've ever done, and it doesn't have to be uploaded on an Art Addicts Alliance upload day. You can do it whenever. Just send it to us, and we will vote and get back to you as soon as we can. If you would like to help us pick the theme for March, you can go ahead and vote in the poll that I also have down in the description and the pinned comment. So tell me what you think about this piece. Tell me if you enjoyed this little historic walk and story time through my hometown. And don't forget to go visit everybody else's channels, go see their videos, tell them I sent you. If I'm the last one you're seeing, then you might be looking for more to watch. In that case, I've got some suggestions up on the left side of the screen. Don't forget to like, comment, maybe even subscribe. And if you like living life creatively, whatever that means to you, I'd love to have you along for the ride. Bye, guys!